What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and today I want to continue our discussion about the Mammoth Strength Challenge 5 Pro-Am. Ciao, homie! Welcome to My Block's Strongest Man, where we bring attention to the world of strongman and show you how you can mimic those activities using everyday objects all around your own property. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing and remember to hit that bell button for all notifications so you'll know whenever I provide all the valuable content every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So without further ado, on to today's topic. So what are we discussing today? We talked about what the contest is altogether in our intro video. We talked about the full events breakdown, which is super exciting. And today, I want to talk about the record breakers that they're doing at the Mammoth Strength Challenge 5. So, first and foremost, I got to remind you again, subscribe to their channel, Garage Gym Life Media. Subscribe to YouTube. It does not cost anything to press a subscribe button, just like it doesn't on my channel, My Block's Strongest Man. That is the only way that you can see the live stream for free on their channel. So again, come here to the description. Here's your link to the live stream. That takes you over to the video where you can set your reminder. My reminder is on. Subscribe to the channel, Garage Gym Life Media. Follow them on Instagram. Set your reminder. And in 23 days, sit back and enjoy an incredible array of strongman events. So, what are they doing with the record breakers in addition to the normal events? Well, there's 3 record breakers being contested, national and world records. So, the first one that they're going to be contesting, I'll skip because it's the coolest one, so we'll talk about that one last. But they're doing a Mauser Block. So the Mauser Block is, as we've talked about in our last video, a steel box that looks like, here's Mauser Strength Dynamics website, and they show you what it looks like. So here's a Mauser Block. It's a steel box, indestructible box. It has feet on it so competitors can get their fingers underneath it to lift it up. You open it up with some hidden screws. You can put weight plates inside it to weight it down at various different weights. So it's going to be a 1 rep max who can lift the heaviest block overhead. So they open, they adjust the weight, you try again and so forth, and see who can lift the heaviest weight for the Mauser Block. The other record breaker they're doing is an axle press. So, as you all know, an axle is a thicker than normal bar, typically a little more flexible than a normal barbell would be, and it's typically higher up off the ground. So a regular deadlift, for example, would be 9 inches. A axle is typically known to be 18 inches off the ground. So it's used for deadlifts, it's used for overhead pressing. This is an overhead pressing axle bar record attempt. So, as mentioned in the video, the record currently held by Eddie Hall at 475 pounds. So we'll see how close our pros and amateurs at Mammoth can get to that particular record, whether they go for a national or a world record. So the other thing to keep in mind that I mentioned in previous videos is Dave Waters is paying out $1,000 for record breaking. So that drives us to the third and most awesome of the record breakers that they're having at Mammoth Strength Challenge 5, and that is the Sandbag Lift. So you say, oh, sandbag, that sounds very common, like what's the big deal? Here's the big deal. Sandbag weighs 500 pounds. Have any of you watched Strongest Man in History featuring Nick Best, Brian Shaw, Robert Oberst, and Eddie Hall, and seen the episode where they go into that bar and they attempt to lift sandbags of different weights and walk around the bar with it to replicate an old-time strongman feat of strength? Have you seen that one? The heaviest bag they lifted was 400 pounds. This is a whole 100 pounds more than that, and they are 4 of the strongest men in the world. So it's really ambitious, to say the least. But again, as with my other videos when I describe the other events, Dave Waters adds a twist. So here's what's happening. As he mentions, a 500-pound sandbag with sand in it would normally be the size of a body bag and almost impossible to get under and get off the ground even for 2 people. So how does he get around that? I keep marveling at the ingenuity and the creativity of this team. So here's what they did. They removed the sand from a 350-pound bag and added in different media, different material that weighs more than sand, but will take up the same amount of space as 350 pounds of sand, but weigh 500 pounds. So amazing. That way the bag is manageable in size and small enough where they can get their arms around it. It just weighs more. So what are they doing with this sandbag, you might ask? Clearly you can't throw it like a keg over a bar, so what are they doing? They need to lift a 500-pound bag of this other media and place it up on a 54-inch pin, like Atlas stone pins. So put it up on a pedestal that's 54 inches. And the idea being, who can lift the heavier bag? So I'm assuming that if someone can actually do this, which I'm really conflicted on whether anybody's going to be able to lift a 500-pound bag up 54 inches. But if someone can actually do it, I would imagine they'd add more material to the bag and make it a little heavier. And as Dave mentions, he's kind of aligned with me on this. He says, you know, there ain't going to be no breaking it by a pound or a kilo or two like we've seen with the deadlift and other things. Like, he's putting in a motivation for people to want to break the record by a lot, and here's why. As I mentioned, he's paying out $1,000 for breaking the record. So let's say one competitor only in the men's pro division can get that 500-pound bag on top of the pin. Let's call him Gabriel Pena. let's say he gets that bag on top of there. Nobody else can do it. He wins $1,000. Next year at Mammoth Strength Challenge 6, if nobody's able to lift a heavier bag and Gabe isn't even there competing, he gets paid again for retaining the record. How cool is that? It's like you set a benchmark and you don't even have to go prove yourself again. You keep getting paid until someone can beat the benchmark. Now, admittedly, I think the benchmark they're starting with is way too heavy, but Dave Waters knows way more about organizing this stuff than I do, so let's trust him and see how it all plays out. But I think that's super cool. He's trying to do everything he can to ensure that pros get paid. So I mentioned on a previous video that everyone's getting paid. That was a mistake. I misspoke on that one. All pros are getting paid, which makes sense, right? Like, why would you pay an amateur? The whole idea of going pro is to get paid for your discipline in whatever you do in life, right? So sorry about that mistake. I did make the correction in my description on that video and wanted to actually say it out loud here. So Dave Waters and crew want to make sure that all pros get paid for these endeavors and add in these extra incentives. So again, your 3 record breakers, an overhead axle press for max weight, whoever can lift the most weight, an overhead Mauser Block press for whoever can lift the most weight, and a sandbag, which has something other than sand, maybe some hybrid of sand and some other material, to make it way more for the same volume, lifted up onto a 54-inch pin. And by the way, I didn't mention, this will be establishing a new record, a new national and world record. There is no record for this event. Dave and team are creating this out of nowhere, which is also super cool. So I think that this being my 3rd video with many more to come about the Mammoth Strength Challenge 5, I think you've come to the same conclusion I have, that it's an incredible amount of innovation, pure strength testing, and excitement that you won't want to miss, especially because the stream is free, people. I mean, and free, and you don't have to wait a month or two like you do with World's Strongest Man for it either. So it seems like the best of all worlds, and even innovation and creativity that I never would have thought that I wanted until he gave it to me, but is super cool. So I hope that you found this series of videos interesting and as exciting as I have, and you'll come back for more as I follow these pros on Instagram and tell you how well they're doing in their prep. I see Gabriel Pena and Trey Mitchell already doing Mauser Block lifting training, and that's why I actually found out about this contest. I asked Gabe, like, hey, what is that thing? Like, is that something you normally train with, or are you guys kind of blazing a trail of training innovation? And he told me, like, a lot of us U.S. pros are going to this Mammoth Strength Challenge, and that's how I learned more about it and thought like, holy crap, how don't I know about this amazing contest? This is awesome. So thanks again for joining me on My Block Strongest Man. In the coming days, I'll bring you athlete prep, and of course, I'll bring you predictions for the pro division like I always do, and we'll see how I do with my predictions. Thanks for joining me, and of course, until next time, ciao, homie. So if you like this video and want to learn more about any of the products I described during this video, make sure to check out the links in the description below. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.